until the under-23s. I was still an under-19 player, but played with under-23s, trained with the first team now and then. Well, unfortunately, that opportunity didn't came at the time, and my agent at the time went speaking to other clubs around the country, seeing who could be interested, and FC Groningen was the club that really saw potential in me, saw the future in me.
Before fear had a name in football, it washed dishes in Breda. There was a time when Virgil van Dijk wasn't the calm commander we know. He was just a quiet teenager working part-time in a kitchen in the Dutch city of Breda. While his friends were getting trials and call-ups, he was scrubbing plates, wondering if football would ever remember his name. At 16, he was small, lanky, and by most scout standards, not good enough. Rejected by Willem II's academy, he nearly gave up the dream, but his mother kept reminding him, keep faith even when no one else does. It's strange how destiny moves, sometimes slowly, painfully, until a growth spurt at 17 changed everything. He suddenly shot up to 6'2", but his coordination hadn't caught up. He was tall but awkward, full of potential yet misunderstood. At Groningen's youth setup, he was seen as a late bloomer, raw but intelligent. He wasn't the fastest nor the flashiest, but there was something different: composure. When most defenders dove in, he waited. When others panicked, he watched. Even then, coaches noticed how he could read the game, like he was seeing football one frame slower than everyone else. But the journey almost ended before it began. At 20, while breaking into Groningen's first team, Van Dijk fell seriously ill with a burst appendix and kidney infection. He spent days in the hospital, hovering between life and death. Doctors told him he was lucky to survive. From his hospital bed, he wrote a note to his family. If I don't make it, know that I tried everything. That moment, fragile, uncertain, changed him forever. When he returned, football wasn't just a sport anymore, it was borrowed time. He began training with a new hunger, not to prove scouts wrong, but to prove that he still had a purpose. That quiet teenager washing dishes was no longer just surviving, he was preparing for greatness. Every clearance, every pass, every calm moment on the ball came from a man who had already faced chaos and beaten it. They said he'd never make it. He said nothing and just kept moving. Dijk finally stepped onto the pitch for Groningen. He wasn't supposed to be special. He was the quiet center back no one paid attention to, the one who didn't shout, didn't dive, didn't play like the typical Dutch defender. But when the whistle blew, something different happened. The game started slowing down around him. Groningen were struggling defensively that season, and yet there was this tall, elegant kid who made chaos look organized. He wasn't just defending, he was conducting. Every clearance was calculated. Every header had intention. And when he carried the ball forward, the crowd noticed something rare. A defender who moved like a midfielder, who passed with confidence, who looked like he belonged in control. In one memorable match against Ajax, a 20-year-old Van Dijk faced a relentless attack led by some of the best young talents in the Eredivisie. He didn't panic. He read every run, every cross like he was seeing the future. That day, scouts began whispering his name, the boy from Groningen. But even then, the recognition was quiet. The Netherlands national team ignored him. He watched as others, less dominant, less consistent, got called up before him. It wasn't arrogance that grew in him, it was patience. He knew talent wasn't enough, timing was everything. Then came the call from Celtic, a move to Scotland that few understood. Critics called it a step sideways, some even a step down. But to Van Dijk, it was a step closer to destiny. At Celtic, everything changed. In Glasgow, football isn't just played, it's lived. The fans don't whisper your name, they roar it. And if you're not good enough, they'll let you know. Within months, Van Dijk became their calm in the storm. Champions League nights, Old Firm derbies, pressure situations that would break others only sharpened him. He was unshakable. He'd glide past pressing forwards like they weren't there, step out from defense, and launch a 60-yard diagonal pass right onto a winger's foot. He wasn't just defending anymore, he was building attacks. A new breed of defender was taking shape. But even with titles and trophies in Scotland, he still felt invisible outside of it. Dutch coaches still doubted him. He wasn't Ajax bred. and that meant something in their system. To the world, he was a big fish in a small pond. To himself, he was just getting started. Behind that calm face was a quiet storm. A player who had already died once and wasn't afraid to do it metaphorically again to reach greatness. They didn't see him coming because he wasn't running for attention. He was walking toward destiny.
Virgil, congratulations. You signed a new contract through to 2022. How pleased are you to start with?
Well, I'm very happy, and yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm so happy, definitely.
You obviously only joined the club last September and came in on a 5-year contract then. Why so quickly? Why has this happened so quickly?
Well, me and my family enjoyed it a lot this year, and I think you know, we spoke a lot with the board and with the coach.
When Van Dijk arrived at Southampton, it wasn't glamour waiting for him. There were no fireworks, no headlines, just rain, grit, and the unspoken test of whether he could survive English football. At Celtic, he looked majestic, but in the Premier League, everyone's fast, everyone's strong, everyone's ruthless. The league doesn't care about your potential. It breaks you to see if you can rebuild stronger. And that's exactly what Van Dijk did. From his very first game, you could feel something different. He didn't just defend, he absorbed the chaos. Opponents would sprint at him full speed and he'd simply lean, time the movement, and make it look effortless. He made defending look calm, like art disguised as calculation. His awareness became his greatest weapon. He wasn't the loudest, but he was the most certain. When strikers tried to trick him with feints, he didn't bite. When they tried to outmuscle him, they bounced off. And when they dared to beat him for pace, they didn't. In one iconic match against Arsenal, he was tested by Alexis Sanchez, one of the league's most relentless forwards. But Sanchez couldn't get past him. Every time he tried, Van Dijk was already there. The crowd didn't gasp, they just stared because there was nothing flashy about it. It was control. Southampton fans knew they were witnessing something rare, a defender who combined the composure of Maldini with the physical authority of a prime Rio Ferdinand. And scouts all over Europe started circling. Yet, behind the calm, there was still a fire. The Dutch national team had finally called him up, but not as a hero, as a backup. For Van Dijk, that stung, but it also fueled him. In training, he became obsessive. Every tackle, every header, every positioning drill, perfected. He studied tapes of strikers before every game, knowing their tendencies like a detective studies suspects. He wasn't reacting anymore, he was anticipating. Then came the whispers. Liverpool are watching him. At first, it was just rumors. But as Southampton faced the Reds at St. Mary's, Klopp saw it with his own eyes. A defender who looked untouchable. He wasn't the fastest player on the pitch, yet he controlled the tempo. He wasn't shouting instructions, but players around him moved as if orchestrated by invisible strings. Klopp didn't just see a center back, he saw the heartbeat of his future defense. The 2017 transfer saga was messy. Liverpool were accused of tapping up, seals and collapsed, apologies were made, but deep down, everyone knew this was destiny postponed, not denied. And when the deal finally happened in January 2018, £75 million, it broke records. Critics screamed, too expensive for a defender. But Liverpool didn't buy a defender, they bought peace of mind. That same peace that was born in Breda, sharpened in Groningen, refined in Glasgow, was now ready to rule England. Van Dijk wasn't the loud arrival type. He simply walked into Anfield, shook hands, and let his boots do the talking. Liverpool didn't just sign a player, they signed silence, the kind that settles storms. When Virgil van Dijk arrived at Liverpool, the club was like a beautiful machine with one broken gear. They could attack anyone, score 4, maybe 5, but they could also concede 3. They were a storm without an anchor. And then he walked in. No fuss, no viral video unveiling, no bravado. Just a man in a red shirt, tall, calm, and expressionless, as if he already knew he was about to change everything. His debut came in the FA Cup Merseyside derby against Everton. It was pure script writing magic. In front of a roaring Anfield under the night lights, he didn't just defend, he scored the winning goal. A towering header, poetic in its timing, like destiny announcing itself. That was the beginning of something bigger. Liverpool's chaos turned into control. Their backline, once shaky, became a wall built on confidence and communication. Alisson came later, Robertson and Trent matured, but at the center of it all was Van Dijk, the calm conductor of the Red Orchestra. He didn't just clear danger, he commanded it. You could literally see him dictating the rhythm of games. Step forward here, a glance to the keeper, a gesture to shift 5 yards left. Every move had intention. By 2019, Liverpool were no longer chasing glory, they were demanding it. Van Dijk didn't get dribbled past once that entire Premier League season. Not once. It became a myth, then a fact, then an aura. Wingers started second-guessing themselves before even trying. He didn't tackle because he didn't need to. His positioning was perfection. His anticipation was a cheat code. Then came the Champions League nights. Napoli, Bayern Munich, Porto. Van Dijk was a sentinel against Barcelona at Anfield. Even though Messi scored in the first leg, Van Dijk's second leg performance was pure leadership. He didn't just defend, he made others believe. Liverpool overturned the impossible 3-0 deficit and marched to Madrid. And in that Champions League final, when Tottenham pressed and Kane lurked, Van Dijk was unshaken. Clearance after clearance, head up, no panic. He was the calmest man in Europe. Liverpool lifted the Champions League trophy. Tears, fireworks, and smiles, but Van Dijk, he simply stood, hands on hips, scanning the stadium like a general after victory. The fortress was complete. The next season, the Premier League finally fell. After 30 years of waiting, Liverpool conquered England again. And behind every clean sheet, every dominant away win, stood the Dutch wall, silent, immovable, and unbreakable. He became the runner-up to Messi in the 2019 Ballon d'Or, the closest any defender had come since Cannavaro. When Messi himself said, "He's an amazing defender, he deserves it," you knew something rare had happened. Liverpool's defense wasn't just solid, it was psychological warfare. Strikers felt Van Dijk before they even faced him. You could see it in their body language. Hesitation, doubt, surrender. "He doesn't slide because he doesn't have to," said one Premier League forward. "He makes you do what he wants, not what you want." That's the magic of Van Dijk. He doesn't dominate through noise, he dominates through silence. And in that silence, Liverpool found balance. Their attack, their midfield, their energy, all revolved around one truth, that no matter what at the back stood certainty. For 2 seasons straight, Liverpool were nearly untouchable. Records shattered, fear reinstated, and belief reborn. He wasn't just the best defender in the world, he was the standard. And in football, that's rarer than gold. 2022 came, and for a moment, the world wondered. Was Van Dijk still the same? The same immovable force that turned strikers into ghosts? The ACL injury had tested him in ways no opponent ever could. It took from him what he valued most, control. But the man who once guarded Liverpool's defense like a lion guarding its cubs refused to stay down. Slowly, he rebuilt. The same calm face, the same stride, but behind those eyes, something new burned, hunger. He returned, not as the same player, but as a wiser one. Less about chasing glory, more about preserving it. When he lifted the Carabao Cup in 2024 and guided Liverpool back into Europe's elite conversation, fans realized Van Dijk's greatness wasn't just built on tackles and headers, it was built on composure, on leadership, on presence. Ask any Liverpool fan today, and they'll tell you, when Van Dijk is on the pitch, the team feels safe. That's not something stats can measure. It's something you feel in every corner cleared, every look of assurance, every time he steps between chaos and calm. And that's the mark of a true great. Not just someone who defended his team, but someone who defined what defending truly means. Virgil van Dijk, from a hospital bed in Groningen to the captain of Liverpool, a legacy carved not just in clean sheets, but in respect.